By the end of this presentation, you will have the tools necessary to change your finances. I'm going to give you some tips, but what's going to make the difference is what you believe after you watch this video. Do you believe that you can apply these concepts and succeed? If you believe it, you will succeed. I promise. It works 100% of the time. 100% of the time. But if you're only going to watch this video and never apply anything, you might as well catch up on what's happening in other news. But if you do apply this information, I promise your finances will change. So we're talking about financial freedom with AV. We're going to talk about 4 different pillars that encompass your complete financial wellness. This is going to be part of a series, so I'm going to go in depth about each of this, but I'm only going to go in depth based on what people actually like. For me to be successful on this channel, I have to give you information that you actually value. So how can you show me that you value this information? See that like button? Hit that like button. It's completely free, and it's going to show me that you actually value this. Also, hit the subscribe button, because if I see people are subscribing, now I have more incentive to provide you some of this information. That's all I'm asking you for. I'm not going to put this information behind a paywall for you to pay for this information. I'm just asking you to do some things that are completely free of charge to you. So here is our agenda. We're talking about the 4 P's to financial freedom. So the first is planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The second thing is our payables. What does our debt look like? What are the things that we are responsible for paying right now? And how can we optimize the way that we pay it? The third is provision. Are we preparing for tomorrow? And the fourth thing is protection. How do I insulate myself to protect myself from financial emergencies? Information is not what makes people rich. Think about it. We have access to more information now than any generation before us, yet we are struggling financially. Why is inflation as ridiculous as it is? Because think about it. The previous generations, if they wanted a commercial, they had to watch a TV program. Most of the time they were at work, and the only time they saw commercials is if they were watching TV in the evening. This generation, we are constantly being marketed to. In social media, we're constantly keeping up with the Joneses. We see influencers constantly marketing us products. We see our friends and family who are seemingly all doing better than us financially. And so because we are constantly inundated with commercials and marketing, we constantly feel the need to buy more things and to have more stuff. Our constant need to buy more is preventing us from saving money. So we are spending at astronomical levels. And the more we spend, the more expensive things become. All right, so imagine you have a lemonade stand. You're selling lemonade for 25 cents. You find out the vendor down the street is selling for $1 and people are actually buying their lemonade. What are you going to do as a business owner? Keep it at 25 cents because you're trying to protect other people's pockets, or move it up to $1 because you're worried about your pockets and your family? Most businesses are not doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to help you succeed, but most people, they're in business for themselves to succeed. If nobody buys the lemonade for $1, then the lemonade stand is not going to charge $1 anymore. They're going to have to decrease their prices. But if we are all constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses and constantly buying what we can't afford, inflation will continue to ravage us. I want you to become wiser with your money, protect your money. So every time that there's an opportunity, when there's a market pullback, this is where the next batch of millionaires are created. And will you be one of them? So here are some basic things, an overview, some things that you can do to get yourself right financially. Let's start with plan. What is your budget? Now listen, I know a lot of people say they don't see the point of having a budget because no matter what my budget is, emergencies happen and I don't know how much I'm going to end up spending. So having a budget feels pointless. But it is important to have a budget regardless of how well you're able to keep it right now. Because think about it, without a budget, that means you have no plan. And if you have no plan, how can you ever succeed financially? How are you ever going to achieve a goal if you don't even have a plan to get it? How are you ever going to get to a destination if you don't even know the direction you're supposed to head in? You have to have a plan. So the first step in having a good budget is tracking your spending. First, we need to uncover where's the money going now? How am I currently spending my money? And so I recommend these apps here that you see. YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget, because you need a budget. Nerd Wallet, which is what I personally use, is a great budgeting app. And there's also Good Budget. Now, these 3 apps, the great thing about them is that they track your spending. So you're able to uncover, where's my money currently going? How's my money currently being spent? Where am I currently spending? You'll be surprised just knowing where your money is being spent. That alone, that awareness alone can help you save a lot of money. For example, I realized I was paying too much in subscriptions. I didn't really notice I was paying that much in subscriptions because I wasn't going line by line, taking a look at every dollar that I spend. But once I started realizing I was spending like $60 on subscriptions, I started to question myself, okay, I'm paying for cable and I'm paying for all these subscriptions. Something's got to give. Being able to see your spending, see how much you're spending on food, Hello, young people. Seeing how much you spend on food, seeing how much you spend on entertainment, it gives you an idea, and simply becoming aware of it gives you an opportunity to change some of those behaviors. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to use one of these apps. Personally, I like NerdWallet, but you'll choose whatever you like to track your spending. You'll connect your accounts, credit cards, wherever you spend money to understand where's my money currently going. Now, after we track our spending, this budget here, this circle graph, is an idea of what a good budget will look like. People call it 50, 30, and 20. I like to say 50, 30, 15, and 5. The reason why is because I like to differentiate retirement. So 50% of your expenses should be going towards your essential expenses. Essential expenses are things you can't live without. Water, food, shelter. Those are things that must be paid. You want about 50% of your take-home pay to go towards essential expenses. I know what you're thinking. Alex, have you not seen inflation? I don't know what's going on in your home, but 50% is impossible right now. I get it. Some of us are at 80, 90. Some of us are even 100%. It's important to have a budget because, again, if I see I'm at 80%, I might not get to 50% tomorrow. But can I go from 80% to 75%? What if I cut this? What if I cut that? Right? And I could work my way down over time. For example, for myself financially, when I realized during 2020, I was doing very well in terms of my budget. But over the years, as inflation has taken off, I realized I was spending around 70% of my income on my essential expenses. I started to look and ask myself, what can I do to lower these expenditures? With spending on gas prices went up. It's astronomical. So now a method that me and my wife use, we fill up with fuel anytime we're at half a tank. We never let it get to the bottom. Why is that? Because oftentimes when you don't have gas and you need gas, you're not going to the cheapest gas station. Sometimes you're going to the one that's most convenient. The gas stations closest to my home recently, and depending on when you're watching this, hopefully gas prices go down from now. We don't know. But the gas station closest to my home was $3.36 a gallon. But I was able to do gas for $3.05 a gallon. Why? Because I was able to choose my gas station. If I did gas when I'm on E and the light's on, I would have had to go to the gas station closest to my home. But because I actually had gas, I was able to choose the gas station that I went to. And you know those navigation apps on your phone, a lot of times that they will show you where's the cheapest gas station. You could just look up gas in your GPS as you're driving somewhere, type in gas, and it'll give you the gas prices along the route. I will warn you, they're not always the most accurate, but you at least get an idea which gas station is the cheapest right now. And you can plan out your gas and do gas there. Doing gas just an extra time every week could save you a lot of money because now you're choosing the cheapest versus the most convenient. Also with groceries, grocery shopping is expensive right now. So if grocery shopping is expensive, why aren't you using coupons? You know, back in the day, if you wanted to use coupons, you would have to go to a newspaper and cut them all out. And sometimes it could be a weird situation when you actually took it to a cashier because you're trying to take out the papers and some of them are a little wrinkled because they were in your pocket and there's a big line behind you and then there's anxiety because you feel like the people behind you, they just want you to get up out of the way, right? I get it. But nowadays, coupons are digital. Me and my wife, we use Publix, Sam's Club, and Kroger. And every week they have weekly ads on their mobile app. And just going once a week and just checking those coupons to see what's on sale, we shop according to what's on sale. So for example, if I see steak is half off this week, guess what we're eating this week? Steak, right? If I see Gatorade has an 80% off or buy one, get one free, guess what we're buying? Gatorade. That has saved us a ton of money on groceries. Now, don't think you don't have time to do that. Going through that weekly ad might take 5 minutes of your time. You know how much time we spend indiscriminately scrolling through social media? Another thing I recommend to lower those expenses is call all of your bill collectors. I say call them once a quarter, so once every 3 months. Give them a call and just inquire, is there a way that I could be paying less for what I have right now? You'll be surprised how many times there are promotions being run. They're not telling you about, they're not actively promoting it. For example, we use Xfinity for our home security, our cable, and our internet. And I can't tell you how many times I've given them a call just to say, hey, is there a way that I could lower my payments? And they said, yeah, if we could actually just add you to a promotion, if we add you to a promotion, that'll save you $30 a month. My car insurance, for example, I gave them a call and I said, hey, how can I lower my car insurance payments? They said, well, yeah, you know, if you take a defensive driving course, that'll actually lower how much you're paying. Well, guess what? I took the course. It cost me $75 to take the course, but that lowered my payments by $40 a month. So just imagine, after 2 months, I saved my money and then some, and I still get that $40 off per month simply because I asked the question. You should be calling and seeing how can I lower these payments? What's the worst that they can say? No? And just because they said no 3 months ago does not mean there's not a new promotion coming up. So make sure that you make it a habit to give them a call and see what opportunities exist. But again, these are small ways that you can lower these payments. So you can lower your essential expenses, right? If we go from 80% to 75, that's a win. That's 5% more income that you have for yourself. So again, that's why it's important to have a budget, because if you don't have a budget, you're not really looking at these things. And if you're not looking at these things, how will you ever progress? Another thing that I highly recommend are the cashback apps that you see here. I personally use these cashback apps, and they account for roughly $250 per month that I get from using them. So I listed them out here, and I'm going to put a link in the description below. Please, if you're not signed up, sign up for them. And look how much $250 a month turns into in a year. You're right, over 5 years, over 10 years, that extra $250 a month, it makes a difference. All right. That's like giving yourself a raise for things that you are already doing. I got a client that he downloaded these apps. He takes it very serious, and that saved him about $400 extra per month. That's like a $400 paycheck per month. And what he did, he got a membership for him and his wife at their local spa. And now they get spa treatments with just that extra money. It didn't cost him anything out of his pocket, anything out of his paycheck. These are just things that you can do. How much time do we spend on our phone doing things that don't benefit us anyway? So why not use your phone to help make you some money? If you want to know more about budgeting, put budget in the comments below so I can know to make a video more about budgeting and give you some hacks that I picked up along the way. So for our next pillar, the second thing that we're going to talk about is our payables, our debt. Most of us are doing debt the wrong way. We are just paying for our debt randomly with no strategy, nothing in mind. The way you prioritize your payments can save you thousands of dollars on debt. So how so? Well, there's two methods that you could use. You can use the avalanche method or the snowball method. Personally, I use the avalanche method, and that has saved me thousands of dollars in debt payments. What is the avalanche method? You prioritize your debt payments based on interest rates. Now, don't get me wrong. In both of these methods, you're always going to make your minimum payments. You don't stop paying other debt. You always make your minimum payments on time because we don't want late fees. You know, that can add up. But you pay the highest interest rate items first. So for example, if you have a credit card that you're paying 30% interest on, and you have a mortgage that you're paying 6% interest on, it makes more sense to pay off your credit card first than your mortgage. Think about it. What would you rather be paying for the next 10 years? 30% on debt or 6% on debt? So you pay off the highest interest rate items first. So you list out your debts based on the highest interest rates, and you try to pay off the highest interest rate item first. Target those credit cards, the high interest stuff, and get rid of them first so that you could have less money going towards interest and more money going towards the principal, the actual amount that you borrowed. Doing that alone can save you thousands of dollars because don't forget, you're getting rid of the highest interest rate first. Interest rate is just giving the bank money simply because they lent you the money. It doesn't actually pay down what you borrowed from the bank. So use that method if you can, and it'll save you thousands of dollars. The next method is called the snowball method. This method is a little different. Imagine a snowball at the top of a hill, and as it rolls down the hill, it accumulates more snow. By the time it gets to the bottom of the hill, it's a lot bigger at the bottom than it was at the top. Pay down your debt based on the smallest balances. If I have a $300 debt, a $500 debt, and a $1,000 debt, I pay off the $300 debt first, then I work my way to the $500, then I work my way to the $1,000 debt. So I pay the smallest first. Now, why would somebody do that when you could have saved so much interest on the avalanche method? Well, let's be honest, some of us are discouraged financially. And if you've been discouraged financially, starting off with that $25,000 credit card, it may feel insurmountable. So start off with the smallest debt first, and then you get to build momentum and work your way towards the larger debt down the line. This helps a lot of people actually stick to their plan. Dave Ramsey, who's a popular financial guru, this is a method that he says a lot of people have used, and it's helped a lot of people get out of debt simply because the hardest step is always the first step. So again, both methods work. You might start off with the snowball method, build the momentum, and then work your way to the avalanche method. Both methods work, but most people who are able to get out of debt is because they use one of these methods. The more money you save, the more money you have for yourself. So our third pillar here is provision, saving. Listen, we all have goals and dreams, things that we want. Maybe it's to have that dream vacation and get some bucket list items off. Or maybe it's that forever home that you want to move into, or a new vehicle, or paying for college for yourself or for a loved one. We all have dreams, goals, and aspirations. But the thing is, most of the things that we want to accomplish have a price tag somewhere associated with them. So if we're going to be people who actualize our dreams and actually succeed in our goals, we have to be good at saving money. So how can I become good at saving money if I'm not already good at saving money? First thing I recommend is to write out all of your goals and put them somewhere where you can see them. All right. So Me and my wife, we put our goals on a marker board in our home. And every time I go to sleep and I wake up, I always see our goals. And that alone keeps me committed to our goals. Because let's be honest, in January, there's no room in the gym. Everybody's signing up. Everybody's saying, this is my year. This is the year I'm going to lose weight. This is the year I'm going to finally do this thing. Check in with that person by April. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes it's not because we don't want to accomplish those goals. It's not because those goals are no longer valid or important, but life is busy sometimes. We have a lot of other things going on, a lot of other things to worry about. And sometimes those goals, the things that we really want to accomplish, they take a back seat. Just being able to see your goals helps engage you so that you can actually remember what those goals are. And it puts it in the forefront of your mind. So then after those goals are written down, prioritize them in a list of importance. One thing I highly recommend, your first goal should always be your retirement. Listen, I know what you could be thinking. Retirement is not going to happen for another 30, 40 years, right? Some of us are younger, or maybe retirement is coming in the next 10 years. Maybe some of us have that fear that we're not going to live long enough for retirement. But it is extremely important that all of us are concerned with retirement. The earlier you concern yourself with retirement, the easier it is. Because I'm telling you, retirement is something that you cannot finance. If you want to go to school and it's $30,000 tuition, you don't have to actually have $30,000 in cash. You can take out a student loan and finance it. If you want to buy a home and the home is $400,000, you don't have to have $400,000 sitting around in cash. You could take out a mortgage and finance the home. You could take out an auto loan and finance a car, but you cannot finance retirement. Imagine with me walking into a bank one day and saying, hey, I just stopped working. I never plan on working again, and I need to borrow some of your money. Listen, if you walk out with any money, the police are probably chasing you. You're not going to be able to finance retirement. So how are you going to have money in retirement? It's going to be drastically impacted by what you save. What I recommend at the very least, if your employer offers a match, take advantage of that match. If they match 6%, contribute at least 6% towards your 401k. I understand my crowd and people watching this are very diverse, but in the Black community especially, a lot of us have that fear that we're not going to live long. Personally, I had that fear that I'm not going to live long, and so I didn't want to take retirement seriously. And I have to deal with people every day who want to retire and they can't. They're tired. They have medical issues. Sometimes you have to take care of a parent, but they can't retire simply because they didn't prepare for it. That's one of the toughest conversations I have to have. And please don't expect that Social Security will be enough. If Social Security is still around, which it could not be around, it's not going to be enough to take care of your full retirement. The average Social Security that people are getting is usually around $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a month. How many of us can survive with just that amount per month? So if you're not prioritizing retirement, it's going to be difficult. The earlier that you prioritize investing towards retirement, the better you'll be, the less money that has to come out of your pocket. So retirement is extremely important. All right. The second thing you need to be saving for is emergency savings. I say about 5% of your pay should be going towards emergency savings because listen, emergencies happen and you don't know when it's coming. You cannot predict the next emergency. You can't predict the next time you're going to have to change all 4 tires or the transmission gives way. And one thing that we know for sure is that we don't know when the next emergency is coming. I mean, look at the 2020 we just experienced. Who saw that one coming? So put some money aside. My grandmother used to always say, you can't stop the rain from coming, but you can always have an umbrella. So I recommend starting off with a cash buffer and make sure that it's in the right account. Make sure it's an account that's actually getting interest. Your average savings accounts right now are paying nothing, 0.something%, which is worthless. An account that I highly recommend is a cash management account or a high interest savings account. But make sure that you use one of these accounts so that you are maximizing. I mean, look, high interest savings accounts right now are paying well over 4%. So take advantage of that right now. I'd rather get 4% than 0%. So make sure you're storing money away for emergencies, about 5%. And do me a favor, put that money somewhere where you're not going to have easy access to it. Remember in undergrad, I was trying to be an adult and I tried to put money away for a savings. And I said, I'm only going to use this for emergencies. So every month I was moving $100 over from my checking to my savings account. And that sounded great. But the problem is every time I looked at my balance from my checking account, I would see the balance from my savings account. And for some reason, my rainy day fund, it was raining every day. I'll be in line at Chick-fil-A and oh my gosh, it's raining. I need access to the money, right? I would be in line at Golden Crust and I feel like eating a Jamaican beef patty and oh my gosh, it starts raining, right? I started using my rainy day fund for everything. So please, if you're anything like me, do not leave that savings account the same place you leave your checking. They're probably not paying you much anyway, and you want to remove the temptation out of your life. Next thing you want to be saving for is your legacy. Do you have any children? Use a 529 plan. Save for them that way. Listen, you do not have to put millions of dollars away for the kids to be successful. Sometimes putting a little amount, but giving it time to grow. You'll be surprised what $50 can do over time. And I'm actually going to show you in a later slide what time can do to money. Put $100 in a Roth IRA for your kids, and you'll be surprised what the investments can do and turn into over time. You should be also saving for your other wants and needs. Listen, one thing I recommend everybody do is have a vacation fund. Save for vacations. Because if all you're doing is working and saving and working and saving and working and saving, it's tiresome. It's hard to do that over a long period of time. So I think everybody should try to have a vacation at least once per year. Now, does that mean every year you have to travel the world and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a trip? No. Stop. You do not have to do that. I have a friend of mine, she told me her and her husband, instead of traveling, they took a staycation where they put their phones on Do Not Disturb, and instead of cooking, they ordered DoorDash. And they told me that was one of the best vacations that they've had in comparison to when they've traveled. But just be intentional about those things. Put a little bit of money aside. So again, 5% should be going towards emergencies, and some of the other savings that I gave you, some of the other things that you can do to save money, start putting it away for actual other wants, other needs that you have. Now, when I talk about provision, I'm not just talking about putting money in a savings account. I recommend you invest some more. Personally, 99% of the money I have is invested in something. 99%. My checking account is actually invested in a government money market fund. Why am I investing in a government money market fund? Isn't that risky? Well, the only way I lose my money is if the U.S. Treasury fails. Well, if the U.S. Treasury fails, what good is my money in my checking account anyway? So instead of using a regular checking account, I use an account like a cash management account with Fidelity, which I have linked below. And with that, the money's actually invested for me. But that money market fund last year paid me almost 5%. So while checking accounts on average are paying 0.01, 0.02%, I was making almost 5%. I made a ton more on the money that I already had simply because I put it in the right place. I think almost every dollar you have should be invested in something. Now, if you have a short-term investment like a checking account, you don't put a checking account in stocks because stocks fluctuate too much, right? They're up one day, down the other day. You don't want your mortgage payment to fluctuate based on how stocks are performing. So again, you use some short-term instruments like the ones listed below. And for longer-term goals, that's when you want to leverage stocks. Did you know 3 out of every 4 years stocks are normally up? And over a long period of time, stocks are biased towards you, the investor. Notice the difference between the positive return odds after a month versus after 20 years. The longer you wait, the better the odds are that you're going to be profitable. 100% every 20 years. This is why I don't mind investing aggressively in stocks for my retirement in the future, because I know I pretty much have a 100% chance. Now, don't forget, past performance doesn't mean it's going to be like that for future performance. But I do know that I have a higher chance of good returns if I'm invested, because the stock market is biased. The game is rigged, and it's rigged in your favor over a long period of time. Now, again, if you're trying to invest in stocks today to make money tomorrow, it's a dangerous game. So let's look at this example here. If you put $100 in the S&P 500 in 1926, what do you think that would be worth in December 2023? That $100 would turn into $1.2 million. That $100 would have went through the Great Depression, multiple recessions, Democrats and Republicans in office. It would have went through a lot. It still would have been up. Now, what if you put $100 in the market in 2022? How much would that be worth by the end of 2023? It would be worth $101.13. And don't forget, inflation was high. So you actually would have lost value because of inflation. The more time you have invested, the better you're going to do because the market is biased towards you. That's why you need to be taking advantage of the market. So the more money you can get invested, the better. If you need some more tips on investing, put invest in the comment section below, because don't forget, I'm only going to give information that you find valuable. So our fourth and final pillar here is protection. This is oftentimes the most overlooked when it comes to your financial wellness. Insurance can help protect you from a financial hit if something unexpected were to occur. Whether it's losing your job, whether it's a car accident, whether it's something happening to your home, insurance oftentimes acts as the first line of defense from unexpected expenses. The first layer is an emergency savings, like I told you earlier. That is a layer of protection. Imagine paying off all your credit cards, and then next thing you know, you get a nail in your tire. You need to replace your tires. Your transmission gives way, and now you're having to go back to those credit cards in order to pay for it. It's a cycle where we get out of debt and we get right back into debt. So your emergency savings acts as a first layer of protection. The second thing that's extremely important is insurance. Insurance helps minimize your exposure. So having the right coverages at the right levels is extremely important. Why did I get insurance on my phone? Well, I realized that I was buying a new phone every time a new phone came out. Every time a new phone came out, I was constantly buying a new phone. Because usually by the time the new phone comes out, my screen is cracked, my phone doesn't work properly anymore. And so I'm like, you know what? I might as well just get a new phone anyway. I tend to drop my phone a lot. Don't judge me. Please don't. Phones are easily over $1,000 now. So just imagine how much money I'm spending on buying phones, buying new cases, new chargers, and everything for my phone. So because I have insurance on my phone, the insurance cost me $200 and I dropped my phone twice. Twice I cracked my screen. Again, please don't judge me. Twice I cracked my screen and both times I had to fix it. It only cost me $29 to actually get fixed. $29 twice, about $260 that I spent on insurance and actual claims. If I did not have the insurance, every time I dropped my phone, I would have been buying a new phone that would have been over $1,000. So think about it. That saved me at least $2,000 because I bought a $200 coverage. Insurance is important. Do you have the right coverage at the right levels? Do you have enough medical insurance? If you have a medical issue where you tend to be hospitalized a little more, you may want to buy a secondary insurance like a hospital insurance. Also, do you have life insurance? If something were to happen to you, are you leaving behind a lot of stress for your loved ones, right? We don't want to be passing on generational poverty. We want generational wealth. So you want to make sure that if something happens to you, that you have enough coverage to help cover your family in the event that you're not here. Make sure that you have beneficiaries. Make sure you have beneficiaries on your 401ks, your retirement accounts. Make sure everything you have has beneficiaries. I cannot tell you how important that is to have beneficiaries. I had a client who passed away in 2020. He was a sole breadwinner for his family, and in his 401k, he had about $1.2 million. Now, he did not have this $1.2 million because he was affluent or anything like that. He just worked hard. He took advantage of his employer matches. He was able to accumulate that much, keeping the money invested. When he passed away, you would have thought that his 401k would go directly to his wife. But instead, it went to probate court. The credit cards that he owed, they wanted to be paid immediately upon knowing that he passed. He also had an ex-wife who wanted some of that money. It went to probate court, and it took 19 months for the wife to finally receive the money. But guess what? By the time she received the money, it wasn't $1.2 million anymore. Probate is very expensive. Those credit cards had to be paid off. She had to contest the ex-wife, and the ex-wife took some of the money. For 19 months, she still needed to pay a mortgage. She still had a car note to pay. She still had expenses that needed to be met, and she was not able to meet them. And I remember I was racking my brain looking for opportunities to help her so that her and her family did not completely tank simply because they were waiting on money. So please have beneficiaries, have those things in order. Another coverage that gets ignored is long-term care coverage. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to make sure that you have long-term care coverage. It is extremely important. Long-term care coverage, it covers things like nursing homes, assisted living facilities, things of that nature. Do you know how expensive those things are? I met somebody who was spending almost $200,000 a year on a nursing home. They are extremely expensive. And do you know right now, studies show that about 70% of us will need some form of long-term care at some point in time in our lives? It could be financially devastating. So please, if you have a loved one that you're going to be responsible for, consider long-term care coverage for them. And yourself, if you're in your 50s, you're getting close to retirement, I highly consider looking at long-term care coverage. The insurance could be pricey, so the earlier you shop for it, the better. So I just went over a lot. It was an overview, and like I said, if there's anything that you want to learn more of, make sure you add that to the comment section below so that I can know what else you want. Don't forget, this information is not going to do anything for you unless you actually do something with this information. If you don't take any action, all this information is worthless. It is simply entertainment. If you want to help yourself succeed financially, then you got to take some action. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be giving you this information, and I'm not going to be putting it behind a paywall. I'm not going to tell you to pay me for this information. All I ask you for is things that are free to you, like subscribing, hitting the like button, and sharing it with a friend. If you could do that for me, that'll help me to continue making videos like this. I do not want my legacy to be that I taught rich people how to get richer. I want to help people like yourself to get out of your situation, to earn more, to have more, to leave a legacy for your family, to become financially stable. So please subscribe, like this video, share a comment. If you enjoy this, let me know in the comments below. That encourages me to continue making this type of content. And again, thank you. I want you to know something before you leave. I wish you nothing but good things. I hope you achieve every goal that you have. I hope you become the most successful person that's ever existed in your family. And I hope that when you succeed, you don't only succeed by yourself, but you remember who you started off with and you help them succeed too. I wish you all nothing but good things. Thank you again.